Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, we are going to do some data manipulation of a data frame. When we use the pandas library to read in data, we get a data frame from that data that is returned. You can begin the manipulation of data from a data frame by asking certain questions of that data frame. For example, if I wanted to find out the 5 most popular baby names in the US in the year 2014, I can ask the question, what were the 5 most popular baby names in 2014 in US? Now, I can approach this question in several stages by manipulating the data frame. So the first thing I would like to do is slice out the rows for the year 2014. Then I will sort out the rows in descending order by the count. After that, I will get the first 5 rows of the resulting data frame. So this is what our data frame looks like before any manipulation is going to occur. The first thing I want to do is extract the year column from this data frame. So to do that, I'm going to reference the name of the variable, which is called US_babies. And in square brackets, I am going to pass in the year. Notice that the year in the data frame is always expressed as a string. All right, so now that I've got the year inside this variable, I'm just going to run this cell. I'll click run. You can see here, it has returned just the year from that data frame. Now this object it has returned is referred to as a pandas series. Now that I have extracted the year, the next thing I want to do is slice out the rows of the US baby data frame with the year 2014. In other words, what I want to do, I only want the rows of the US baby data frame that corresponds to names that were given to babies born in the year 2014. So to do that, I have to create a series that contains true for each row I want to keep and a false for each row I want to drop. And I do this by comparing each year in the US babies with 2014. So let's see how we do this. So I reference the variable which is called US_babies. And then in square bracket, we add the parentheses, we add the year, and then we do the double equals to, which is used to check a comparison. If you are using a single equals to, you are assigning a value to a variable. But when you want to compare, you use the doubles equals to. So I'll say 2014. So what basically this is saying is that I'm only want to return data for babies born in the year 2014. So I'm just going to run this cell. I click run. And you can see here, the false basically here represents each row I want to drop, and the true represent each row I want to keep. So anything with the true here are the rows I want to keep. Anything that has got false, which means it doesn't match this criteria of 2014, I am going to drop them from the series. In programming, true or false values are referred to as booleans. So now that I have the values I want to keep for 2014 and the one I want to remove, I can now use a lock method. A lock method basically is a method that allows you to access a specific group of rows and columns from a pandas data frame. Now, the lock method can take in a series of booleans, such as the one that I've just created here. It takes that as an input, and then we can pass in this series of booleans as a first input to the lock method, and then the second input that we will give to the lock method will be a colon. So I've added the line of code here. So basically what I've done here in this cell, I've created a new variable called US_babies_2014, and I've assigned it to this US babies variable, which is this variable here, usbabies.lock. This is the lock method, and inside the brackets for the lock method we've got the US_babies and the year equals to 2014. So this part here where it says US baby year 2014, comma, this part basically means I want to access only the rows where the year is 2014. And then we've got the colon at the end here. The colon basically denotes that I want to access all the columns for the rows where the year is 2014. So let's go ahead and run the cell. So I just click run. The next thing I want to do is just run this cell so that it registers the variable. So in order to get the series from the data frame, all I need to do is just reference the name of this variable, which is this bit here, and then just run that cell with the name. I'll click run. You can see here it has returned the series from that data frame. So anytime I want to access this particular series inside the data frame, I just reference this variable called US_babies_2014, and it will return the data series for that particular data frame. The next step is to sort the rows in descending order by count. In order to do this, I'll need to use the sort method, which we're going to use to sort the values. And then I will pass in the count as a first input and descending equals false as a second input. And that second input is what is going to allow me to sort in descending order. So I've already pre-staged the code, so I'm just going to paste that in. So this is the code, and this is basically this will generate a new data frame, because once you use the sort method to sort values, it will result in a new data frame. And that new data frame, I am storing it in this variable. I created a new variable called sorted_US_2014, so that anytime I want to access this particular data frame, I just need to reference the name of the variable. To register the variable with this data frame, make sure you run the cell, and that registers the variable. So now if I want to actually run the data frame to see what's inside, I just need to reference this variable that is storing the data frame. So inside this cell, I just click run, and you can see here it has returned a new data frame because we've used the sort method to sort the values. So in this data frame here, we have been able to sort the rows in descending order by count. All right, and we did that by using the sort values method. The reason I had to store the value that was returned, which is this data frame, into a variable is because when you use the sort values method, it creates a new data frame. So I want to be able to refer to this data frame when I need to do so. Hence, I've stored it in this variable called sorted_US_2014. One thing to note is that when you assign variables, make sure you create variables that are meaningful, that reflect what it is the variable is storing. The final step in finding out the 5 most popular baby names in the US in 2014 is to slice out the first 5 rows of the sorted US 2014. And to do that, we're going to use a special method called the iLock method. The iLock method works in similar way to the lock method, but it takes in a numerical index instead of the names of the column as the input. So this is how I will represent the data. So we've got the sorted_US 2014, which is this variable here. And then we attach the iLock method to it. And this 0.05 basically means it's going to retrieve the first 5 popular names from this sorted data. All right, so if I run this cell now, you can see it has given me, it has returned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is what I requested for here. So what that means is that according to this data set I am working on, it means that Emma, Olivia, Noah, Sophia, and Liam were the 5 most popular baby names in the US in the year 2014. So that is it for this video. In this video, we explored some data manipulation with our data frame. We were able to retrieve specific type of information from our data frame by asking specific question and using various approach to achieve the data set we wanted from the data frame. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.